Hey people, it's Naya Stoki. Now, I would just like to thank numerous pages who posted about this. It's not any one specific person, but the source I'm using is folukafrica.com, Amilcar, Cabral, and the name of this story is Amilcar Cabral, To Be Mountains to Return to the Source of the Power. Amilcar Lopez da Costa Cabral was a Pan-African revolutionary whose anti-colonial resistance brought Portuguese colonialism in Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde to its knees. As a leader focused on liberation, he also defined and redefined the boundaries of and between revolutionary action and revolutionary theorization. He demonstrated the ways in which being a freedom fighter was inextricable from theorizing liberation. For him, revolution was also and always critical thinking, and revolution was also and always actual fighting. Revolution was both and. Thus, as a theorist of decolonization, Cabral stands out because, as Ferreira explains, when he recognized that there was a breach to be closed, he stepped into it. Cabral was willing to put his whole body, mind, and soul on line to achieve the outcome he believed was necessary for the liberation of his people. And so, till the sea devours the earth, the shores of Cape Verde and the forests of Guinea-Bissau will echo with the strain of his name, Viva Cabral. A short biography of Amilcar Cabral, pre-PAIGC, 1924-55. Cabral was born to Cape Verdean parents in Bafato, Guinea-Bissau on 12 September 1924. Cabral's father, Juvenal Antonio da Costa Cabral, was from a wealthy and influential family. Through this genealogy, Juvenal bequeathed to the young Amilcar a strong political education, a love of poetry, and an interest in agriculture. His mother, Eva Pinal Evora, was not born into an affluent family. She nevertheless provided her son with a very special sense of self-determination, discipline, purpose, personal ethics, and an unshakable iron will. Eva and Juvenal Cabral separated when Amilcar was 5 years old. This had a marked impact on Cabral's childhood as the domestic financial situation in which Cabral found himself deteriorated. His mom had to struggle to care for him and his siblings. And so Cabral never forgot the difficulties of his early years, and later spoke of poverty as one of the reasons which led to him revolt against Portuguese colonialism. Cabral was homeschooled until he was 12 and proved himself to be an exceptionally brilliant student. He finished what was meant to be 4 years of primary school and 7 years of secondary school in only 8 years. In the autumn of 1945, at the age of 21, Cabral traveled to Portugal to pursue a 5-year course of study at the Instituto de Agronomia da Universidade Técnica de Lisboa, the Agronomy Institute at the Technical University of Lisbon. He attended university on a scholarship provided by the Cape Verdean branch of the Casa dos Estudantes do Império, the CEI, the House of Students from the Empire, a colonial government-financed social development center for students from Portugal's colonies. During his student studies in Lisbon, Cabral had to work to supplement his academic stipend, but also found time to get involved in various social and political groups, including Movimento Anticolonialista MAC, Anti-Colonial Movement, and Comité de Liberação dos Territórios Africanos sob o Domínio Português, CLTA-SDP, the Committee for the Liberation of Territories under Portuguese domination. On 27th of March 1952, Cabral graduated at the top of his class with a degree in agricultural engineering. He was the only student of African origin in his cohort of 220 students. One of these students was Maria Helena Rodriguez, who was later to become Cabral's first wife. He tried to get a job in Portugal with the civil service, but was prevented due to systemic racism in the service. He then returned home, determined to decolonize Cape Verde and Guinea-Bissau. On his return, Cabral gained employment as a grade 2 agronomist. As part of his job, he traveled more than 60,000 kilometers and collected data from approximately 2,248 everyday Guinea-Bissauans. This would provide him territorial advantage in the armed anti-colonial struggle later on. During this time, Cabral was also making political connections for the cause of decolonization, both Cape Verde and Guinea-Bissau. Due to his immense knowledge base, persuasive powers, and irrefutable arguments, he was able to convince citizens across the national and social divide to join in with the anti-colonial cause. These included civil servants, entrepreneurs, as well as urban workers, peasants, rural villagers, and athletes. When the Portuguese colonizers caught wind of these activities, he was reportedly exiled from Guinea-Bissau, banned from returning to his reside. Thus, in 1955, Cabral returned to Portugal. After several petitions, Cabral was, however, eventually given permission to visit family in Guinea-Bissau. It was on one of these permitted visits on 19 September 1956 that Cabral co-established a political party that was later to become the PAIGC, the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and the Cape Verde Islands, Partido Africano para Independencia de Guinea y Cabo Verde. Rafael Paulo Barbosa was its first president. Amilcar Cabral became Society Secretary General. The party's intentions were initially to peacefully campaign for independence. However, this changed after the Pijiguiti massacres in 1959, where Portuguese soldiers opened fire on protesting dock workers, killing 50 of them. This caused many of the people to turn to the PAIGC. This also convinced the PAIGC of the, I'll just say page for now, and it's too much of a harmful, of the merits of an armed struggle against a dominating power that did not consider the people they governed human. So an armed struggle was declared in March 1962. After a failure of tactics in the town, resistance activity moved to the rural areas and adopted guerrilla-style tactics. Under Cabral's leadership, the page liberated 3/4 of the countryside of Guinea in less than 10 years of revolutionary struggle. Beginning in 1963, Cabral took his party into an open war for the independence of Cape Verde and Guinea-Bissau. Cabral distinguished himself among modern revolutionaries by long and careful preparation, both theoretical and practical, which he undertook before launching the revolutionary struggle, and in the course of this preparation became one of the world's most outstanding theoreticians of anti-imperialist struggle. This intellectual strength distinguishes Page as one of the few movements started by the educated elite that enjoyed the full support and participation of the masses. Within 3 years after the beginning of armed struggle, more than 2/3 of the country and population were being administered by the Page. The armed struggle relied on the creative destruction of the social and economic trappings of colonial life, as well as the complete replacement with new structures. Most anti-colonial movements on the rest of the continent, whether or not they engaged in armed struggle, were content with stepping into the shoes of the colonial powers, rather than burning the shoes and rethinking, dismantling, or unpacking the concept of colonial power itself. And I wanted to take a moment to step into this, because I've said this when I've talked about Diwani and Black Americans having their own state. This is why I said there has to be new ideas put forward. You can't simply have a new country set up and simply have the old power structures. You'll end up with just like South Africa, black cops brutalizing black people in the place of white cops and white politicians in orchestrating the death of black people. Anyway, let's keep going. Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde were and are a drop in the colonial ocean, yet this creative destruction were a profound threat to maintain the old order. Therefore, with the complicity of France, Portugal invaded Guinea, Conakry, and Senegal in 1969-1970 to achieve the aim of destroying the Page, which had offices in Conakry. They failed. Portugal military resources were stretched thin as they were, at the same time, also repelling connected armed struggles in Angola and Mozambique. The Portuguese, late to the colonial game, forcefully and brutally held on to their colonial possessions. They used napalm with devastating effect in their African colonies. You know, this is like a war crime, you know. And there's a photo here on this website. Again, I won't be able to post links in the description, but I will reiterate the name of this site so people can look it up. So it says on this website, Portuguese soldiers torching hut belonging to guerrillas during the Portuguese colonial war. So they're torching the huts, the homes of black citizens in Guinea-Bissau, Angola. After the Portuguese invasion attempt failed, Portugal then adopted a Salvia approach. Inocencio Cani, allegedly with the backing support of PIDE, Portugal's secret police, assassinated Cabral in Conakry in 20th of January 1973. Cabral had been walking home with his second wife, Ana Maria Cabral. The timing was not accidental. The Portuguese government knew that Page planned to declare independence in 1973. They feared that this could lead to greater pressure for decolonization elsewhere and perhaps to a challenge to their authority within Portugal itself. They first exploited divides within the Page. This contributed to Cani's assassination of Cabral. Yet one of the most significant successes of Cabral's leadership was that he developed a party that could and did operate effectively without him. And this is one of the things Professor Black Truth talks about in some of his videos. He said, there is no leader. The idea is the leader, which is what Amilcar did. Despite the death of Cabral, the Page was able to proceed with the planned declaration of independence of Guinea-Bissau a few months later on 24th September 1973. This was later recognized by a 93-7 UN General Assembly vote in November 1973. Cape Verde became independent in 1975. Nevertheless, the light of a revolutionary was extinguished too soon, and the Page felt the loss of his spirit and mind keenly. The world became a poorer place with his untimely passing, and 1,000 melodies of mourning were written so that the earth will always remember his name. Viva Cabral! Across the continent, in classrooms and road names in books and in music. We remember. Viva Cabral, viva. The light of a revolutionary never dies, as long as his name never dies. As long as his name never dies. And he's just like Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, and many other black leaders. Although he died not young, but he died well before he had accomplished everything that he could have done. The anti-colonial theory of Amilcar Cabral. While Cabral is often described as a Marxist, he did not necessarily define himself in this way. He had Marxist political education, surely, but did not join or form a Marxist or communist political party. He did understand that colonization was embarked upon for economic ends and had significant economic impact. Thus, anti-colonial revolution had to have as its primary aim the people's needs. Anything else was merely useless, self-congratulatory rhetoric. Cabral, one of Cabral's foremost biographers, described Cabral as a nationalist. However, Cabral's brand of nationalism was not focused merely on taking control of colonial borders, but substantive internal justice for those who found themselves trapped within them. Cabral believed that resistance must be active, grounded, and engaged in with full commitment, not just to one's individual needs, but to the needs of those who are already here, the memories of those who have gone ahead, and the hopes of those yet to be born. The light of a people, the resistance of a people, has various forms. As I already told you, our resistance began quite some time ago. Since the day that Portugal had the idea of dominating us, exploiting us, our resistance began in Guinea. Our resistance in Cape Verde began since the day that the social situation clearly demonstrated that dependent on the Portuguese colonialists, our people in Cape Verde were exploited, humiliated, exported like animals, dying of hunger, resistance, and decolonization. A land is only truly liberated if it manages to throw off foreign domination in the country's economy. If we in fact manage to liberate the economy of our country from all foreign exploitation. And I want to just take a moment when we've often talked about on black economics and stuff like that, how black people love spending money with non-blacks, or it's Asian nail salons, or other things, Arabs, chicken shops, liquor stores, and stuff like that. Every black dollar given to a non-black and foreign nation is power that is swept out of the black nation. Let's keep going. We are not going to eliminate imperialism by shouting insults against it. For us, the best or worst shout against imperialism, whatever its forms, is to take up arms and fight. This is what we are doing, and this is what we will go on doing until all foreign domination of our African homelands has been totally eliminated. The weapon of fury. In combating racism, we do not make progress if we combat the people themselves. You have to combat the causes of racism. If a bandit comes to my house and I have a gun, I cannot shoot the shadow of the bandit. I have to shoot the bandit. Many people lose energy and effort and make sacrifices combating shadows. We have to combat the material reality that produces the shadows. Return to the source. We are fighting so that insults may no longer rule our countries, martyred and scorned for centuries, so that our people may never be more exploited by imperialists, not only by people with white skin, but because we do not confuse exploitation or exploiters with the color of men's skin. We do not want any exploitation in our countries, not even by black people. Revolution in Guinea. Cabral embedded use of theory came from a realization that practice and theory are not separate elements of revolutionary struggle. Practice without accurate and critical thinking will lead to failure of action. Theory without action helps no one and nothing. Every practice produces a theory, and if that is true, that a revolution can fail even if it is based on perfectly conceived theories. Nobody has yet made a successful revolution without a revolutionary theory. The weapon of theory. Always remember that the people are not fighting for ideas, nor for what is in men's minds. The people fight to accept the sacrifices demanded by the struggle, in order to gain material advantages, to live better and in peace, to benefit from progress and for the better future of their children. National liberation, the struggle against colonialism, the construction of peace, progress, and independence are hollow words devoid of any significance unless they be translated into a real improvement of living conditions. Return to source. On imperialism, the post-colonial state, and independence. For Cabral, imperialism, colonization, and neocolonialism are, as enacted in Africa, operate to destroy both the history and future of African people. Any struggle to escape these forces had to take into account the nature and impact of those forces. The colonialists usually say that it was they who brought us into history. Today we show that this is not so. They made us leave history, our history, to follow them right to the back, to follow the progress of their history. And this is another thing I want to say. When people keep saying the first black something, black people were the first. There's no such thing as the black first anything. There is the first of these other people. The first white person was second to the first black man. Let us be precise. For us, African revolution means the transformation of our present life in the direction of progress. The prerequisite for this is the elimination of foreign economic domination, of which every other type of domination is dependent. Revolution in Guinea. We must practice revolutionary democracy in every aspect. Just hang on, let me make this a bit bigger. Where is it? Let us be precise. For us, the African Revolution means the transformation of our present life in the direction of progress. The prerequisite for this is the elimination of foreign economic domination on which every other type of domination is dependent. Revolution in Guinea. We must practice revolutionary democracy in every aspect of our party life. Every responsible member must have the courage of his responsibilities, exacting from others a proper respect for his work and properly respecting the work of others. Hide nothing from the masses of our people. Tell no lies. Expose lies whenever they are told. Mask no difficulties, mistakes, failures. Claim no easy victories. Revolution in Guinea. The problem of the nature of the state created after independence is perhaps the secret of the failure of the African independence. Neocolonialism is at work on two fronts, in Europe as well as the underdeveloped countries. Its current framework is the underdeveloped countries is the policy of aid, and one of the essential aims of this policy is to create a false bourgeoisie, to put brakes on the revolution and to enlarge the possibilities of the petty bourgeoisie as a neutralizer of the revolution in Guinea. On the people, their place and power. Ultimately, Cabral believed that power belonged to the people, all the people, equally. There was no room in his thinking for or struggle for divisions, class distinctions, and hierarchies of humanity. African people were his mission, his army, his mountains, his fury, and his soul. We must act as if we answer to and only answer to our ancestors, our children, and the unborn. Tony Gifford told you I am a great revolutionary. It's not true. I am a simple African man doing my duty in my own country in the context of our time. My comrade Ron Phillips said that I am his hero. We have no heroes in our country. The only heroes there are the African people. Our people are our mountains. A people who free themselves from foreign dominations will be free culturally only if, without complexes and without underestimating the importance of positive accretions from the oppressor of our cultures, they return to the upward paths of their own culture, which is nourished by the living reality of its environment and which negates both harmful influences and any kind of subjection to foreign culture. Thus, it may be seen that if imperialist domination has a vital need to practice cultural oppression, national liberation is necessarily an act of culture. Return to the source is the denial by the petty bourgeoisie of the pretended supremacy of the culture of the dominant power over that of the dominated people with which it must identify itself. The return to source is therefore not a voluntary step, but the only possible reply to the demand of concrete need, historically determined and enforced by the inescapable contradiction between the colonized society and the colonial power. The mass of the people exploited and the foreign exploitative class, a contradiction in the light of which each social stratum or indigenous class must redefine its position. There are no mountains at all. Our people call the hills in Bo region its southeast mountains because in Guinea we don't really know what mountains are. As for the mountains, we decided that our people had to take their place since it would be impossible to develop our struggle otherwise. So our people are our mountains. Our people are our mountains. Cabral put his body on the line and his mind as well. In his practice, there was no mind-body split, no room for demarcating the thinkers from the soldiers. The immortalization of Cabral's work and name in song and in culture means that long after we have gone from this dusty earth, the shores of Cape Verde and the forests of Guinea-Bissau will still echo the strains of his name. Viva Cabral, viva! The light of a revolutionary never dies as long as his name never dies. As long as his name never dies. Viva Cabral, viva! So the site I'm using is folukafrica.com. So there's some sources of this in the bibliography. I'm just going to read them quickly. Resistance and decolonization, return to the source, the fury, weapon of fury, revolution in Guinea, African people struggle, unity in struggle, our people are our mountains, the social and political thought of Amilcar Cabral, a reassessment. That one is by Patrick Jabal. Amilcar Cabral, Revolutionary Leadership and People War, Africa World Press. Eduardo de Souza Ferreira, Amilcar Cabral, Fury Revolution and Background to his Assassination. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. Please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.